24, driving business.
Hello, good morning. My name is Nampija Gloria Christine, together with my co-host
Anthony Sabali.
Yes, we are glad that you're joining us for our Friday roundup on the financial markets. In financial markets, we analyze the stock market of East Africa and all over the world. And today we are having our host, Isaac, from the Officer of Trading and Research Officer in Uganda.
You're most welcome, Mr. Kayemba.
Thank you. It's good to be here to discuss our markets. And we thank you for the opportunity that you have accorded us.
Yeah.
And I look forward to the engagement.
Yeah. Let's talk about Gloria. For example, this year there's been a lot of new things on the market. We've seen USE introduce USE $1. We've seen a couple of companies, of course, do issue their reports, their financial statements for the year 2022, and a lot has been happening. But in your own view, as Uganda Securities Exchange, how can you, of course, sum up the performance in 2023 so far? Of course, we are halfway the year, and not much has been able to be realized, but still, something has been done. What is your overview of the market performance on the Uganda Securities Exchange?
When you start discussing the financial markets, and I think markets in general, you have to first give a backdrop. We are coming from COVID-19, transitioning into post-COVID environment. So COVID-19 slowed down a couple of things, and then when we tried to recover, we went straight into the Russian conflict, inflation, and the Bank of Uganda has tried to put measures to sustain that and try to bring it down. And at the moment, there's a bit of hope. CPI printed at 6.2% for the month of May. And when you start giving such a background and a perspective, that's when you know that we are coming from a position of improving. So, and when you look at it in that way, 2023 has been a year of improvement. Turnover on the exchange has improved. We are looking at 38.4 billion at the moment in terms of turnover.
No, that's for the first 5 months now?
Yeah, for the first 5 months to the middle of this month.
Yes.
So, and that figure actually has surpassed the previous year's turnover. So there's significant improvement on the exchange. The volume of trades has also increased. You're looking at 435.6 million shares traded already, with 2,699 deals. So that spells significant improvement for the year. And as we go into the next half of the year, we expect that will continue happening.
Well, when you talk about increasing the number of shares, yes, that's a very interesting idea. But let's talk about the investors. One of the things that has always, of course, given us a hard time here in Uganda is that we have very few local investors. In Kenya here, our neighbors, we are talking about close to 6 million traders. 6 million investors, but I don't know the exact number of our Ugandan investors, but I'm pretty sure it's quite lower. Has the number of investors gone up as well as, of course, as these shares are going up? Because we've seen also dominance of individuals, dominance of maybe fund managers in trading, but has there been an improvement in response from local investors?
So when you talk about local investors, first of all, we have to go back to the MTN IPO. So the MTN IPO gave us a platform on which a number of local investors were engaged to try to use the exchange as an avenue for investing and saving. So the number of SCD accounts increased at that point. I think recorded 80,000 SCD accounts, almost doubling or even tripling the previous figure after the IPO. At the moment, it's just north of 120,000 individual investors. So there is still improvement, significant change, and it is going to keep improvement.
So we are
improving.
at 120,000
Yes.
individual investors.
Yes.
Wow. You know the meaning of that, Gloria? 120,000. When you look at, for example, how many people do you know about that probably trade in stocks? Do you have friends or young people who would say, I've bought shares in MTN or Umeme or something?
Most people right now are dealing in cryptocurrencies.
Cryptocurrency.
The only people I know, yeah.
Okay. Interesting. You see, she puts up a very good point there. We've had new avenues of investment, new currencies like cryptocurrency, blockchain technology. These, I would think, in my own opinion, are competing with, for example, equities. I don't know how the Uganda Securities Exchange has actually laid out a strategy to see that they increase awareness and also increase, especially for the young people, to know that there are avenues of investment within the Uganda Securities Exchange that are profitable but safer. Because when you look at cryptocurrency, for example, like Gloria is saying, they're quite volatile. They're not as secure. Yes, equities as well are not as stable, but they are protected and regulated. Unlike crypto, which is entirely decentralized, unregulated currency. So what has the Uganda Securities Exchange done this year in as far as reaching out to more markets, reaching out to more investors is concerned?
So I think I should look at this from a two-point perspective. First of all, cryptocurrencies currently in our country, you would say illegal. The Bank of Uganda does not condone dealing in such securities. They are not regulated or they are not monitored. So you don't know what's really going on in there. What is regulated is the stock markets. The capital markets in general are regulated by the Capital Markets Authority. So there is scrutiny, investor protection embedded in there. So as you're investing, you know that there are lines of defense before, in case of anything wrong happening. Compensation funds are put in place. Investor protection is crucial. So from a growth perspective, the Uganda Securities Exchange has had quite a number of improvements, quite a number of initiatives to try and drive growth in the market. Last year, in around November, we launched the USE Specialist Market. It's codenamed USE Adala.
Specialist Market.
Yes.
Wow, interesting, lovely name.
Yeah, so it is an avenue for small, medium enterprises that might not be able to list on the main market segments because of one, the capitalization restrictions, the stringent regulatory requirements, legal requirements, financial requirements that are required to list on the exchange. And also it's not public, so there are quite a number of people that might not want to put their companies into the public very soon, but are looking to raise capital. So it's an avenue to raise capital, but not on the main market. So it's purely private placements, private equity, private debt. We do systemized scrutiny into these companies before we try to push them onto off-takers, in this case providers of capital. So there is a detailed due diligence process that is done on our systems within the exchange before those companies can be pushed on onto professional investors. Platforms have been created for that effect. Then the other thing is fixed income trading on the exchange. There are platforms that are being created, not being created per se, they're already in existence, but being refined to make sure that they benefit, especially the retail investors. to the most, so that they can also engage in treasure buying and selling of treasury instruments. So at the moment you can contact your stockbroker to see how you can deal with that, but a system is being put in place for that effect. I think the other thing I can mention is during the MTN AGM, they announced the e-trading platform. So that is going through phases of refinement to make sure it is the best product for investors, but that is already live. We have seen a number of trades with people trading on their smartphones. So there are quite a number of improvements we are doing at the exchange to make sure investors in our country are served well.
Well, Gloria, I don't know your thoughts, but with the internet access in Uganda and young people, of course, very fascinated by technology. I don't know what you think if we go e-trading in as far as buying shares is concerned. Do you think this will improve the uptake of equity markets here in Uganda?
Surely it will. Yes.
But we don't have enough internet access. How shall we be able to have these young people all the time online? In Kenya, for example, we have free Wi-Fi, and that, of course, encourages young people to do research. And here in Uganda, we don't. So what do you think young people can do to embrace the new trading platforms?
I think young people should be empowered and informed further about these trade markets. Trained, actually. Yeah, I think this will empower them to do what they're supposed to do.
So you think they can reach out in schools or in universities, in as far as, of course, empowerment is concerned?
Yes.
Absolutely. Now, let's talk about the performance of, first of all, the USD dollar. I find this very, very interesting, because when you talk about a dollar, now you're giving chance to small and medium enterprises, right? To also get to grow the wings so that they can get to list on the big board or the main board of the exchange. But before we had the growth enterprise market segment, I don't know if this is still in place. Has the USD dollar actually replaced this whole idea of the GEMS or the growth enterprise market segment?
So the dollar hasn't replaced the growth enterprise market segment. That is still in existence. It's just the frameworks that have changed, the processes. This is more inclusive. Any company is encouraged to share their financials, share their information, share their willingness to raise capital. What we will do is try to ascertain whether they're actually ready to take on new investors and those stringent requirements that are required by more investors. So it's a platform that gives opportunity for companies to raise capital, that other than these traditional means of raising capital. Because at the moment, the main market segment looks like it's a big boys club. So people with big balance sheets, companies with big balance sheets. So the main market, a dollar platform gives small and medium enterprises an opportunity for them to raise capital.
Absolutely. So it's actually possible for a company to be listed on the GEMS, but then also take part in the USE, the dollar initiatives.
Yes, so those are different segments. So if they are listed there, they can still go through a dollar to raise more funding. So it depends on the management and the director's vision, and also the willingness of the shareholders of the companies.
Well, in the next session, we want to talk about particular performances. When you look at our listings on the Uganda Securities Exchange, we have 18 listings, 8 cross-listed, and then 10 domestic listings that we have. And recently we've seen your website flooded with the performances of different companies in the last financial year, with Umeme, releasing their financial statements, MTN, and a couple of others. We want to get deep into those performances and see which companies actually returned dividends. And then, of course, Bank of Baroda, which actually gave a bonus issue or bonus shares. I don't know if there was a bonus share or a rights issue. You will also share about that, Mr. Kayemba. But before we go into the particular performances of those stocks, what do you think the Ugandan out there should know when they are investing in the Uganda Securities Exchange? Because you have quite a number of things: treasury bonds, corporate bonds, you have the stocks, but sometimes it's a lot to take in. For a beginner who is watching the show right now, what do you think is the most important thing they should pick out if they are to invest with the Uganda Securities Exchange?
So I would like to think of investment as an inward thing. So you have to look at yourself inwardly before you start going out there to understand where you can invest your money. So you look at what are your limits, what are your requirements, why are you doing it in the first place. So if you understand why you're doing it, is it a long-term thing, is it a short-term thing? So all these asset classes, if you look at equity instruments, debt instruments, they all have different characteristics that make them suitable for certain for certain investments. So for example, an equities investment should be looked at in a long-term perspective, because these companies take time to grow before they can actually return value to their shareholders. And then bonds, for example, pay specific cash flows. Yeah. So you know what you expect at the end of the day. That if I invested 1 million shillings, this is what I'm going to get at the end of the day. And you look at how long you want to invest for, why you are actually investing, then you make that decision. If you are short term, then I think treasury bills are a good platform for you.
Yeah.
If you are a long-term investor and you're willing to take up risk, especially if you're a young person, then equities are a good position to go into. So you do your research, you understand these companies, why do they exist, what are they doing, then at the end of the day you make a decision that I am going to invest my money here.
Yeah. Wow. Gloria, I don't know which company you're going to invest in after the show, but probably one of those that have given us dividends this year. Well, we're going to take a very quick breather. And Gloria, when we return, we want to put Isaac to the task. First of all, tell us about what is happening with the different markets that are currently, of course, putting out their performances. Kenya is doing, of course, way better, but also has challenges. When you look at the, inflation, economic environment, they have had challenges, right, in the last financial year. But in this next year, who is giving the biggest dividend? Should we be interested only in the dividend, or there are other things that we can look at this year if we are going to invest? My name is Anthony Sebale, and I am with
Nampija Gloria.
We take a quick break. We return shortly. Don't touch your dial.